Secondary dominant project in Finale, part 2. How do we do analysis in Finale? Well, we use this tool. It's called the expression tool. It looks like a mezzo forte symbol. And I've set up some shortcuts for this, so it's a little bit more complicated than this usually, but just as long as you follow the shortcuts, you'll be fine. So the shortcuts are, if you hold down, when you're in this tool, if you hold down the number, you'll get the diatonic chord. So if I want 1 major 7, I hold down 1 and I click and I get 1 major 7. Here I need 6 minor 7, so I put my cursor there, I hold down the number 6, click, and I get 6 minor 7. Here I need 4 major 7, I hold down put the cursor where I want it, hold down 4, click, and I get 4 major 7. Now the secondary dominants are on the next level down, so just below the keyboard numbers are letters, and so if I want 5, 7 of 6, I go to 6, and then I simply move my finger down to the letter that's below that, which in this case is Y. Hold it down, click, and I get 5, 7 of 6. And you can do that with any of the secondary dominants. If you wanted 5, 7 of 5, you'd go to 5, go to the number below, the letter below that, click, and so on. 5, go to 5, go down, the letter below it is T, click, and I get 5, 7 of 5. So then for analysis tools, we need arrows and brackets, sometimes those kinds of things. And those are assigned to higher numbers after 7. So 8 is arrow, so I need an arrow to show dominant function. Click on that and I get my arrow. You can move it around. And later on, if you have a 2, 5, you can do a 2, 5 bracket by doing 0, and that will give you a bracket. You can move it around, you can double click on it, and then make it longer if you want to by clicking on those little extra holder things. Okay, that's how you do analysis. Now it's time to do melody, and these are all the various things you're going to need to learn to do the melody. So the first thing is that the instructions, which are on page 1, are very important. Read those over and make sure that you understand what they're saying, talking about how to avoid featuring a harmonic avoid note, which will make your melody sound bad, or like you have a wrong note in your melody, and so on. Read all that. And then you choose a motive, and you can just choose any of these. Now, in order to move our melody around and manipulate it, we need to be able to just copy only notes and not chords and all the other stuff. And in Finale, there's a tool that allows you to do that, to selectively copy certain things. And it's called the filter. So click on the Edit menu, and you would engage the filter by saying Use Filter, and then you would select Edit Filter. And you'll see there. Now, when you look at it, it might have everything selected. So what you should do first is select None. And then you should go up and just choose to copy only notes and rests, because for this phase of operations, that's all you want to copy. Then you say OK, and then you choose your motive. I'm going to choose this one. So I'm going to my selection tool by hitting Escape, and then I'm selecting the first measure, and then I'm going to the second measure, and I'm doing Shift-click, and that allows me to select both measures. And then I'm going to do Command-C to copy it, and then I'm going back over to my first page, and I'm simply going to click on the first measure, select it, and do Command-V to paste it, and now I have my motive in my file. Now it's time to select the pitches that I want, and this is where you want to use your ear and use playback to mess around with the pitches until they sound good to you over those 2 chords. And you might want to consider that all the rules that I put on the previous page about make sure that the long duration notes are available notes and not avoid notes, and make sure that you're not leaping into an avoid note and stuff like that. Is I'm going to mess around with these pitches and move them around, and I ended up with something that looks like this. And then I play it back again using a manual playback. If you have the playback window off, I can just select that measure, click spacebar, and press down spacebar and click. And I like the way that sounds, so I'm going to stick with that. Then it's time to start making more of your melody. Now, you can literally just repeat the motive and see if you like the way that sounds against the different chords. Let's see if we like that. That's actually okay, because the melody sounds new again because we have new chords. But it's also cool to manipulate it by doing a sequence. A sequence is when you move the same intervals, but you start at a different pitch level. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to show you a really fast way to do that. If you're in the selection tool, again, this tool here, get there by hitting escape, you can use the number 6 to move down by diatonic step and the number 7 to move up by diatonic step. I'm going to move up a third, so I'm going to have this motive be the same pitches and everything, but just up a third from where it started, and let's check that out. I like that, so I'm going to keep that. And now it's time, so I'm doing well. I've got my first phrase, and now I need to come down here and select some, I will have already selected my harmony, but so say I selected, another diatonic chord here, maybe 3 minor 7, and then I did like 5 7 of 2, and then 2, and then 5, something like that. And then it's time, I'll just get those in place. And I just did that. I put in my 3 minor 7, got my 5 7 of 4, 2 minor and 5, and I put in all my notes. And then look what I did with the melody. Can you see see if you can just think about what I did here. There was our previous motive, and then this is it. And hopefully you're noticing that it's the same rhythm, but I've manipulated the pitches. And what I've done is I've done an inversion, and this is a very cool way to manipulate a motive. I have taken the same intervals, but I've done everything in the opposite direction. So this is down a fifth, up a second, and I've gone up a fifth, down a second, down a second. And what this does is it just creates a nice variation, but it still sounds like it's connected to the previous idea. So I did that there, and then here I turned everything around, and I started with a long duration note, and then I did my motive, but I didn't do an inversion or anything. I just changed the pitches. I kept the same rhythm and different pitch. So I used two different manipulations. I used an inversion here, and I used same rhythm, different pitches here. And now and I've got all my stuff in place, and this is the first 8 bars of my project. And this is an example of what it could sound like. Okay, we're back. I'm just going to show you that under the window menu there's this thing called the mixer you can choose, and you can sort of decide how loud you want all the parts. I'm just showing that there. You can also add reverb. That's already pre-selected. And now we're ready to play back our first 8 measures. Okay, so obviously your project may come out sounding very different. You can do a different tempo, you can get rid of the drums, you can do slower, faster, and all that. But it's a good sketch pad. It gives you, it's working, the composition is working, and that's what we want. And then you can change the genre or the style from there. Okay, so now you're ready to do the final stage, which is to put it in a digital audio workstation. Here's our final stage. These are the things that we need to be able to do. Right here, highlighted. So the way you're going to do that is take your project that's finished now. Obviously it'll be longer than this, will be 16 measures, and go to the file menu and say you're going to export it as a MIDI file. So you go to export and you choose MIDI file, and then just give it a name, and then decide where you want it to go. So I'm going to put it on my desktop. Say OK, just say OK to all the windows that come up, and then get it on your desktop and do the following. So I've opened up a essentially blank GarageBand file, and I've got my MIDI file here on my desktop, and I just click and drag it into my file, and then it'll ask me if I want to import the tempo information, which usually you would if you've been doing it at a tempo that you like, and then it'll bring in all the tracks, and it will assign them, and you'll notice that it assigned everything to a piano, so you have to you have to compensate for that. But you can see from the files what everything is. You can change it, the sound. So let's leave the melody as a grand piano. Let's put the harmony as, say, a classic keyboard sound, I'll just change these sounds to my taste and then come back. Okay, so I've chosen some sounds, and there's a couple more little things we have to do with GarageBand. So we imported it. We also imported the first page that had these little examples of the melody on one pitch, the motifs. So we want to get rid of that. So you just make an edit where you just cut off that just do an edit there and get rid of that stuff by doing Command. Just select everything and do, I think it's Command T. And then you can just select all this and erase it all, and then grab all your other stuff and move it over to the beginning. And now you'll just have your music. Now there's one more thing. You'll notice when we play back, the bass is very low. Okay, so what happens is when we import into DAW, often Finale's been playing back the bass an octave higher because bass is a transposing instrument. But then when it comes into MIDI, it doesn't know that, so it plays it back an octave too low, so you have to change the octave. So the way you do that is you select that track, I'm clicking on it, then you go to the edit by hitting these little scissors. This window opens up, then you click and drag over one of the notes, and then do Command A to select all the notes. And you notice that this first note is a C1. Well, we want everything to go up an octave, so I'm going to just click and drag, all the notes will go with it, so that it becomes C2. There we go. And now everything will play back an octave in the right octave. And then of course at this point you could change the bass line, make it more active, add guitar, add other stuff to it. But you've got all your basic elements in place, and your melody, your project is ready to go.